rumored to be either Impact is after some two really, really big names, and then one guy that I really, really want Impact to sign.
Okay.
Just we'll go quick on these, and then we'll get into the show. Bray Wyatt, what are your thoughts? What do you think their chances are landing this guy? It looks like they're trying to sign him.
So I think the chances are pretty slim, but if they were able to bring him, that would be a game changer because I've often said that what's going to turn the page for Impact is when they get that next Kurt Angle. And when I say Kurt Angle, I mean they need to get that next star who chooses them, not settles for them, not, like the Good Brothers at the end of the day, they're going to try to church it up that wasn't the case, but they settled for Impact because they were planning on going AEW. That fell through. So Impact was able to pick up, and that was their biggest free agent signing in a really long time, outside of maybe Tessa Blanchard. But Tessa Blanchard was someone who I think can fall in that category a little bit. Like I feel like she kind of chose Impact, and she was really the biggest star for the company for a really long time. But they need that. They need that guy that's, I'm choosing to work here. I'm not just settling to work here, and that's when they're going to turn the corner, I think. So Bray Wyatt, I think, could be that guy where everyone's expecting him to make a certain decision, and if he throws a curveball at people and says, "Okay, I want to start something here," that would be huge. That would be huge for them. Like they will get extra eyeballs off that. I mean, there's very few free agents out there that are needle movers, and like he would be one of them.
Yeah,
but I think it's slim.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that if AEW really, really wants him, and I don't know that they do, I think Dave Meltzer said that they were really interested. Brian Alvarez said the opposite, which is interesting because they work together. And then I think they both said that Impact is really interested in him. And maybe this distribution deal is bigger than we were going to give them credit for. I don't know. And maybe they're willing to take that kind of a risk. I will say what Bray Wyatt does do, besides, moving the needle for the company, I think he gets you back on the toy shelves, which Impact hasn't been on in a long time. And he's a merch mover big time. And with his creativity, he could probably do that for you. If they're able to sign him. I hope they are. I don't really think that he fits what AEW does. I think that Matt Hardy got rejected pretty quickly whenever he came in and tried to do his Impact shtick. It just didn't work there, and I don't think that that Bray Wyatt's shtick works with AEW. Now, I don't want him to come into Impact and completely go like hocus pocus bullshit on us, right? And just like, and just start murdering people and and disappearing and things like that, But if he can kind of temper it a little bit, still kind of lean into some of that stuff and get some cool, merch gear and toys and stuff like that. I think that'd be a big move for the company. Now, another guy that I've always been a big fan of, when I had my old podcast in 2017, like I was covering him every week in WWE. I was fully behind this guy. I thought he should have been the man in 2017. It was Braun Strowman. They never really fully got behind the guy despite all of his pushes. It was like push, and then stop, push, stop. And then he became the world champion at WrestleMania last year by defeating Goldberg again. But he was like a last minute replacement for Roman Reigns, who pulled out due to the pandemic. So they never really fully got behind the guy. But I think that he's a guy that could also be, a little bit of a needle mover. I think that, Impact fans who kind of groaned at the thought of him coming in, they don't realize just how important that, old people and kids and families and really like, rednecks from the South, just how, the people that like monster trucks, right? They like these Braun Strowman guys, man. And I guess I fall into that category because I thought that he got watered down a little bit his last 2 years in WWE, but I thought he had a pretty good run there for his first few years.
He would be an excellent addition. He's another one that worries me. Maybe is asking for a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
There was rumors coming out of him wanted, $10,000 for indie booking, which is insanity. That's what, I remember Ryback once upon a time wanted 5,000 a booking, and we'd never seen him since he joined them since he left WWE. So, and again, we haven't seen Braun Strowman either for that reason, it seems. I don't think so. My opinion on AEW, I do enjoy AEW quite a bit, but you give them a big wrestler and the bigger wrestler is almost guaranteed to lose every single time they have a match. I mean, if you look at Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, like, these guys don't lose ever, and it doesn't matter who the hell their opponent is. And I don't think they do a good job with big wrestlers. If you think some of their bigger guys, Lance Archer is probably one they've handled pretty well, but he's also taken some losses that were probably unnecessary. And then some of the other larger guys that they have, they've come in and lost very quickly. They don't.
Wardlow. Yeah.
What was that?
Wardlow. I don't think they've done well with him at all.
Yeah, Wardlow loses. He doesn't wrestle one-on-one too often, but he loses more often than not. Um, Brian Cage got a very quick title shot for the title and lost. Now, I say a big guy with Brian Cage. I'm 5'9". Brian Cage is about my height. I mean, I've met the guy in real life. He's not a tall guy by any stretch of the imagination, but he looks big on television, obviously. But there's a few dudes that, once they get to be a certain height, like, they have no idea what to do with them. You could say that with Impact as well. They have a better history of handling larger wrestlers. You look at guys like Moose, and there was one point where they had quite a bit of heavyweights. I think back when Drew Galloway was a world champion, they had about 5 or 6 dudes. Lashley, that exact time frame, they had about 5 or 6 dudes that were much bigger in stature in the main event picture that they did a really good job with. So I think they actually would handle him better than AEW would. They're doing a pretty good job with Morrissey right now. They've done a horrible job with Madman Fulton. I mean,
Oh yeah.
absolutely horrendous. Like, after that squash match, I think Shira was the one that took the loss, but that squash match I had against Finjuice at Slammiversary, like, after that, I was saying, yo, there's nothing you can do with these dudes now. You've completely killed everything. Madman Fulton, they've handled horribly, but there's not a lot of matches for Braun Strowman in Impact, in my opinion. There's Moose, there's Morrissey, there's Fulton. I'm trying to think if there's another guy who's in that.
Doring.
That's Joe Doring. Okay, Gallows. So they have some bigger dudes. So if you compare their bigger dudes to AEW's, I think Impact does a better job with them, but they're not the main event caliber as a single wrestler that Braun Strowman would be. And I'm kind of like, I don't know who he'd have to work with, and I think that's what hurts Impact a lot with the main event talent, is like, Daniel Bryan wants to have all these matches with all these people. Like, he can look at the Impact roster. Who am I going to work with over there? Like, I can get the matches I want done in one set of tapings, So I think the roster size sometimes comes back to hurt them a little bit when they're trying to really look at some of these free agents. But I think Bray Wyatt would be more of a needle mover, but Strowman would probably be up there. If he showed up in Impact, I would question if he really wanted to be there or if he had to settle for it, though.
Yeah.
I don't get that from him, that, I'm going to go to a smaller company because I want to. I think Bray Wyatt is different. I think these really creative guys, I think, like Rosemary is an example, very, very creative person. Like, she's more comfortable creating in this type of company than a larger one, and maybe Bray Wyatt says, hey, I can be more creative here. Braun Strowman, I would worry that he was a guy that was like, I'm Brock Lesnar, I'm just here for a paycheck,
Yeah, no, I could totally see that. I think Braun Strowman is a Doc Gallows guy, and we're starting to see his influence over the roster with some of the latest signing, John Skyler and Zicky Dice and those guys. So, I think that it would be interesting if he came in. I think one guy that I'm gonna go ahead and lock this one in. I was pretty high on him when he was in WWE, former cruiserweight champion, Buddy Murphy. Rumors the moment he got released where the Impact was really high on him and wanted to bring him in. I did talk to somebody that said, hey, look, not only do I think he's coming in, AEW is not really interested. Some of the dirt sheets were saying that AEW was interested, but I'm still hearing that they're not, and that it looks like Impact is the destination for Buddy Murphy.
I think they would be a perfect home for him. I think it would be a great marriage. I think he's someone who could probably be in that main event picture fairly quickly. We know we're going to talk about the episode here in a second, but when they had the angle where Sami Callihan was messing it, when Moose came and attacked him and then Eddie Edwards showed up, I'm like, dude, it's the same 3 or 4 dudes doing this stuff,
Mhm.
when you're talking about the main event picture, the same people working with each other. And it's like we just haven't had like a very fresh body step in, and he's someone I could see. I wouldn't see him in the mid card. I'd see them really push the dude. And I think it's very realistic. If you look at AEW signings, AEW's like, we're going to hit home runs. They're not trying to hit singles with people from WWE. They're trying to hit singles from the indie scene. But that mid card WWE wrestler that gets released, like that's Impact's pool that they can work with. And it's up to them to make the next EC3, you know. You could say the next AJ and all that too, but I think the next EC3 is a very realistic goal for them. How we can find this guy that was um, not doing much over there, and we can completely repackage and do something really special with. I think he has an opportunity to be someone like that for them. So I hope he shows up. I think that's one. I see people on Twitter. Oh, he's gonna be great for the X division. Like, dude, he's too big for the X division, man. I don't mean in stature. I mean as being a star. Like, he's not gonna be in the X division. So hopefully he does show up. I think Scott D'Amore teased this one.
Yeah. Yeah, that was where he was with Jade Chung and Josh Alexander and George the Iceman, and you could tell he was a little sloshed. And he said, "Watch out for our announcement about Buddy Murphy this week on Impact." Of course, we didn't get it, so because I think he was clearly drunk at the Blue Jays game, and I made the remark, "Well, if you're a Blue Jays fan, you have every right to be drunk right now, considering the record and the fact that they
Right.
got Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and they're not doing so hot." So.
Yeah.
Um, and then he ended that video saying, watch out for Braun for glory. And then he goes, we call that an Easter egg, folks. And so he personally teased those two. So I think of the three, I think that they could probably get 2 out of the 3 easy. And maybe they go for all 3. Who knows, man? If they get all 3, then they've completely changed the dynamic of their television show.
Yeah, that would be a
Because
home run.
yeah, that would be huge for them. Because as you said, Moose, Saban, Callahan. They just swap those 3 guys around. Occasionally they'll sprinkle in. I think Rich Swann was in that mix for a little bit, but now he's back to being a tag team guy. So
Right.
they'll throw a guy in that mix a little bit in and out, but it's really that core group of people that they're sticking with, and they're all just kind of wrestling each other and losing to each other, and almost like 50-50 at this point. So
Yeah. Oh
um,
yeah.
yeah, and we'll get into that. Let's go ahead and get into the show.